What up, guys? So today's question comes from Brandon, who's been doing jiu-jitsu for about 6 months along with his young son. Everything's going great, but he says that recently he was, looking on the internet and he saw this story about Ben Askren. If for some reason you guys don't know the story about Ben Askren had a situation where apparently, if you guys know a different situation better than I do, then you can put it in the comments below so we can be clarified. But otherwise, Ben Askren had some sort of staph infection that ended up leading to severe pneumonia and then led to an issue where his lungs were just destroyed and he had to have a double lung transplant. So Brandon sees this and he's thinking, bro, like I heard about staph infections, because I hear about them, sometimes. You mean I'm going to have this happen to me or my son? Is jiu-jitsu even worth doing? That he's starting to ask himself this question. So he sends me the message and he asks, how many times I've had staph infection? Have I ever seen really bad cases? And he doesn't want to subject himself and his son to this kind of stuff if it's going to be happening every month, like he's going to have to take antibiotics. And so he's also wondering if everything is clean in the gym, people shower, everybody's practicing good hygiene, can you go, a long period of time without having to get into antibiotics and without getting infections? And so, Brandon, thanks for the question. So yeah, bro. So the Ben Askren thing was nuts, and again, I hope he pulls through. I know he's had his lung transplants and he's working through that initial phase. And I think all of us in the grappling and fighting community are pulling for him and praying for him and stuff. But I've never seen that happen before. I've never seen anything like that before. I'm sure it's happened before, but I've just never seen it. I've been doing grappling for 25 years at the time of recording this. When I started in 2000 with wrestling, I've had one staph infection that I know of. And again, it may have not been staph because there's other germs that can get into it. If you've got an infection, it could be other stuff besides staph, right? There's different types of infections, right? But I've had one infection that required serious treating. Basically, I went to this is 2022, I went to this big jiu-jitsu camp and, I'm there, everything's going great. Wednesday, I remember it was like Wednesday night, I felt something in my knee, felt a little weird. The next morning, Thursday, I have this little pimple bump thing on my knee, but it felt weird. There was a lot of redness around it. My leg felt very swollen. And then by Sunday, I remember my leg is just swelling up. Every time I stand up to go for a walk, my leg is throbbing because of the pressure. And so I called up one of my students, Eric, who is a medical professional. He looks at my leg and says, man, let's get you on some antibiotics and let's see what it does. It starts taking care of the symptoms. And then, slowly over the course of about, a week and a half, it slowly gets cleared out of my system. And I think I took antibiotics for maybe 2 weeks or something like that. One time in 22 years. I've trained in some grungy gyms too. But I would tell you at my gym also, very rarely do any of my students come up to me and say, hey, I had to, stay off the mats for a while. I had an infection. It happens every now and then, but it's pretty rare. Doesn't happen too often. And I would tell you that out of all the years of training, I've only seen one really nasty case of staph infection. It was from my buddy Dave, who ended up going to kind of a grungy MMA gym to do some trainings and some grappling training. Goes there, comes back, little pimple pops up. Within a few hours, he's running a fever. He has all this swelling and pressure in his knee. He goes to the doctor. He's there for about 2 weeks, I think it was, in the hospital. His mother, who's a medical professional, lives in Canada. She flew down from Kentucky. She didn't tell him that she was flying down for this reason, but she said, I'm there to console you. But she was flying down because she was pretty certain he was going to lose his leg. Now, he didn't. They used some different antibiotics. They got the infection cleared out, but he got bad, real bad. Seen it happen one time. And again, I believe more than likely it was due to bad hygiene practices. And this is why I say, and again, maybe people could use this as a sort of a teaching tool, like, hey, like this Ben Askren story. Bad hygiene is being a bad training partner. You being a dirty, unhygienic training partner, that makes you an asshole. Because, if someone was training, right, and you put them in an arm bar and you just pop their stuff and didn't give them time to train, which takes them off the mat, that makes you a jerk, right? Well, if you're not taking showers, and I know I shouldn't have to say this, but every now and then I come in and, to the gym and I get someone that's new and you got to tell them, hey, hygiene, showers, don't walk around with your shoes in the bathroom or walk around with your bare feet in the bathroom and then walk onto the mat. Certain things seem sort of just duh, but sometimes you got to tell people, but don't be a dirty training partner, because then that can take people off the mats, and then that's a problem, right? Because again, your dirty hygiene could then cause an infection which then takes them off the mat. Bad stuff, right? So again, practice good hygiene. It's being a good training partner. And so, yeah, bro, you make your own decision whether or not it's worth it to you. I can't tell you that. You make your decision. But what I would tell you is, I don't know what the stats are, but I would imagine that you probably have a better chance of getting into your car, driving, and getting into a wreck on the way to the gym than you do getting a life-threatening staph infection that leads to a lung infection, which leads to double lung transplant, right? I've never seen it before. I'm sure stuff like that's happened. I've just never seen it. And so I would tell you that you have to make your own decision, but that kind of freak crazy thing is pretty rare. And in most cases, in my experiences, most people go months and years without needing antibiotics as long as they're in gyms that have good hygienic training practices. The mats are getting clean. People trim their nails. They wash their gis, wash their uniforms, wash their rash guards. They take showers like they should be doing. They do all the stuff they should be doing. Generally speaking, you don't need to go and have a round of antibiotics to cure an infection every single month. So make the decision as you will, brother. I'll pass that off to you. If you guys that are watching this, if you have any sort of stories relating to these type of hygiene practices and grappling, throw them down in the comments below, and talk to you guys next time.